Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Swarm Talk. If you're tuning in right now, then you most likely are also watching the Braves game. Much like our producer over here, Ralph Leary, is. I've got the beads on, and I've also got the ATL, the Section 103 hoodie as well that we're excited to be bringing to you. Are exactly Scott Robinson. He's got the Ronald Acuna Jr. avatar. Love it, Scott. Appreciate you being part of the show. And yeah, we're going to be providing some updates. It's going to be a little bit of a faster show, just around 25, 30 minutes for that. Matt, over on Twitter, appreciate you watching as well. Listen, if you're on Twitter and you want to comment, I can look at the comments right here, but they won't be able to pop up on the stream just because something Twitter's doing weird. So you need to go head over to the YouTube page and head over there so we can get you going as well. But listen, guys, man, we're excited to bring another episode. It has felt way too long in the process of a week. I feel like it's been more than a week, but we're excited to talk a little bit of Georgia Tech football for you. And a busy week coming off the bye week as well. So let's dive right in and talk about that. First off, I've got to plug a few things. First off, Section 103, a fantastic sponsor of our show. They have some of the best gear in my opinion, if you are a Georgia Tech fan. From this amazing hoodie. Steven, I know you're watching. When you said this is soft, it's unbelievably soft. A great hoodie for the weather right now. It's fantastic. They've got some awesome performance shirts. And if I'm not mistaken, Steven's got some new stuff launching as well that we are excited for. The viewership on Twitter is climbing. We appreciate that. We're excited for that. And I'm excited to see that. We got my man Matt. Went from Twitter to YouTube. Matt, hit the subscribe button if you are on YouTube. Make sure to set those notifications. We're going live. We're going to bring some more great content to you every single week. With this show specifically tailored for Georgia Tech fans. If you're joining us for the first time tonight, and you say, who is this guy? Well, I cover Georgia Tech for 24/7 Sports, the Hive GT on Twitter, gojackets.com. And just because we had a bye week, it's going to be something. Just because we had a bye week this past week does not mean there was not any news. We're going to start talking about, yes, Tech has to shake the curse in Charlottesville. They did it in Durham. Can they do it in Charlottesville this week? They've won 2 times in like 30 or 40 years. Matt, we appreciate you, man, becoming a part of the family and the show as well. Well, listen, let's go ahead and roll right here. GT Dennis, thanks for showing GT Boo as well for joining the show. Georgia Tech coming off the bye week. Last week I talked about what are the expectations coming into this season. And it was kind of a double take of what has happened, what do we expect to happen the rest of the way. I want to talk a little bit about that as well as we kind of dive into some content. Once again, if you're watching the Braves, go Braves, up 2-0, up 5-2 in this game right now, maybe threatening for more, Ralph. We threatening for more? Not quite. Runner on first. So we're keeping up with that as well. Who's up? Camargo. Oh, Johan Camargo's up. It's very, very interesting. They were way too high, in my opinion. Matt, not quite sure Ralph, you know what he means by that comment? I'm not sure. Matt, elaborate that in the comments. We can get that too. But listen, we're excited to talk about this. Georgia Tech coming off a bye week. What did they do? They brought in some fantastic recruits. They obviously they had the quarterback recruit a couple weeks ago that they bring in, and then they bring in the young man that's playing running back. I did a feature article interview with him. It was something that I was, kind of just taken aback. So let's lead off with that. Tashard Choice adds another running back to this room. I got a question in my DMs saying, well, Bryce, what do you think? What do you think this guy can provide? Because obviously when you look at the class, there is a couple guys, and there's Antonio Martin who features kind of more of the power back. But what does Teron Kelman bring? Teron Kelman's, I would say, a little bit on the smaller side with that. Josh Ayler, I see you right there, man, tuning in on Twitter. Appreciate you watching. But Teron Kelman, what he brings to this team, it's a change of pace back. And that's really what it is. He's a guy that can be used out of the backfield. He's a little bit on the smaller size. But people say, according to 24/7 Sports, he doesn't have a rating yet. What does that mean? Well, I'll tell you this. In my opinion, what does that mean is it's something that's really interesting. He's fast. He's elusive. He's also kind of compact and strong. I think once he gets into a college weightlifting system, Ralph, we've seen a lot of that. Once these guys get into a college weightlifting system, then they kind of shift. And I think that's very, very interesting to see. Matt goes back to his comment. These season expectations are way too high as fans. Matt, I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit. I do agree with you right there. Let's see. So go back to Scott's comment. The kid that they just brought in was a 5'5", 3-star kid. What does the staff see in him? Great comment. Let's talk a little bit about this young man. He's a Baltimore, Maryland native. And listen, he's high character, and I truly believe he plays at an elite school in St. Francis Academy, Scott. This is a program that has churned out a lot of top-tier talent. They play a national schedule at the high school level. And Matt Brook right there, yes, they see what they have in Dante Smith. That's one of the big reasons they brought him in. But going back to Scott, what he does is he provides potential depth. And let's talk about what that means. That means that maybe there's some shifting on the horizon, the transfer portal, maybe going an exodus out of Georgia Tech. Jordan Mason and Bruce Jordan Swilling are also eligible to leave. I don't see Jordan Mason coming back to this team. So that'll be something to be very interesting to watch, kind of how that works. Could we see Jemias Griffin transfer out? I don't know. I mean, Gibbs and Dante Smith are very interesting. But it's very interesting to see as well. And then Matt right here, ratings being nothing. Look at the 5-star Clayton, hasn't played a full season. And on that note, Antonius Clayton's dealing with a lot of personal issues that are, pertaining to that. And I think that's what he has on his mind right now. And you can't fault a kid for right there. Scott going, I think Griffin transfers. That's Jemias, not Jaquan Griffin, the defensive tackle, his brother, both out of Rome High School. But this is a running back, guys, that brings a change of pace. I think he adds a speed element. He is, to me, if you had to project him, a Dante Smith type of player. What does that look like? I think it could be something where they use him out of the backfield. But the biggest thing that stood out to me, the biggest thing, was the willingness to compete that this kid has. And what is the saying Georgia Tech's had? Competition is king. I know the ratings don't matter, according to some people, but, these people, they evaluate the talent. And there's some people that slip through the cracks. We talked about that on our Crowded Booth live show yesterday. But with what Georgia Tech has, you have to be able to identify under-the-radar guys that can come in and can make an impact. And I think just because of what's gone on in this young man's career, kind of a weird COVID year last year, he transfers into St. Francis Academy in Baltimore. And if you go watch the highlight tape, I'm telling you, if you want to know about it, you need to go watch the tape because the tape does not lie on this kid. Tashard Choice, in my opinion, added another monster to the running back room. And the saying goes, for some of the top teams recruit, the rich get richer. Georgia Tech still has a long way to go to have a roster that competes with the top tier in the ACC and honestly top tier in the country. But the running back room rivals just about anybody in the country with what they're building. And a big part of that is Tashard Choice. He's an excellent recruiter. When the 24/7 re-rankings come out for the top recruiters, I've got to feel like Tashard Choice has got to be up there with what he's been able to haul in with this class. You saw what Antonio Martin said about Teron Kelman coming on board. He was excited about it. He was excited to see what they could do in the backfield together. And that's what Teron Kelman told us in his interview. He's excited to get down to Atlanta. The kid's never been to Atlanta. Think about that, guys. For a guy to commit and have never been on campus, that speaks volumes about what this coaching staff is doing. I'm saying that it's awesome, too. Going to Matt Brooks' comment right here. We'll go with Scott first. Ratings do matter. Look where your top teams are in recruiting. And Matt going to combat with that, saying, I'm not saying that the rated kids are terrible, but a staff can pull a lot out of a kid, like bringing a 3-star to play like a 5-star. And Scott and Matt, I think you both have great points. To Scott's point, the ratings do matter. When you look at championship-level teams, they're recruiting at an all-time high, and the depth is there. But going back to what Matt said in this situation, it's not everything. And when you're a program like Georgia Tech that, maybe occasionally they can And there's a win for Georgia Tech right there. Luther Burden, 5-star receiver, just committed to Missouri over the Dogs and Alabama, Missouri native. So Georgia Tech fans can say, that's a moral victory. Georgia does not. The rich do not get richer in Athens. That was just breaking news, by the way. Matt Brook, going back to this, I like what you said, because at Georgia Tech, you have to be able to recruit talent. You're going to get a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs because Tashard Choice is so good at making relationships. But Teron Kelman has the talent to be a top 2 guy. He has not been evaluated yet. I imagine when you look at kind of some of the other industry rankings, this is a 3-star, 4-star type of kid who can make some noise. And Matt Brook right there, a little THWG. Ralph, you know what that means? That means to hell with Georgia. I like it, Matt Brook. Ralph's giving me the A-OK. Ralph, show him what you're rocking tonight. This is our producer, Ralph, here in studio. Ralph, show him what you're rocking with tonight. Ralph's got the Braves. He's repping the Braves. He's also got some Section 103 gear he doesn't have on today because I think you wore it yesterday or the day before or something like that. We've got to wash it at some point, but I appreciate Ralph doing what he does here on our show. This is Swarm Talk presented by Section 103. We love talking about it. We just talked a little bit about recruiting. I would love to see what's next. If you want to check out what's next, go head over to gojackets.com. That's where we talked about how Georgia Tech could close out the 2022 class. But I want to say one more time, Tashard Choice is an elite recruiter in this conference, in this area. He's making an impact. Georgia Tech, and I was talking with Ralph about this the other day. Ralph and I were at a high school game that the field was littered with current 5 stars, a couple 3, 4 stars, and guys that will be rated last Friday night. And a lot of guys who were underrated, like Ralph said. What does Georgia Tech have to do, and what have they done? They get in on these guys very early. If they do that, that's what's something, building those relationships are very, very interesting. Let's go to some of the comments right here. Randall, love it. Randall, I got the pearls and the Georgia Tech gear on tonight. David, going to David's comment. Oh, Ralph's got it. We can hope A. Manning can find a home outside of Athens. I know Georgia Tech fans are hoping that Arch Manning does not. Ralph and I have talked a little bit about that. We'll probably talk about that on the show, our normal show. Where could Arch Manning go? Matt Brook here. I think Tech needs to focus and stay focused on the development of these young kids. Let's stay right there for a second, Matt, because that kind of talks about this. Very interesting, and we're going to get to some more of the questions right here in a second. But going back to what Matt says right here, the focus to have to continue to develop what is already on the roster has to be the main goal. This team is young, and I talked about it last week. With young teams come inconsistencies. How do you get past that? Game experience. Game experience. That's what you have to do. These guys are going to have to take their lumps. I'll use an example that I learned and Ralph learned. We played a certain team in high school. Their first 3 years, they were terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. They were a crosstown rival. Now, they went out and recruited a little bit at the high school level, but by year 4, those young guys had played together for so long that they got better as a group. I think that's what Georgia Tech has to do. When you recruit and you have some guys that aren't, according to rating systems, the best, but when you develop the current guys on campus and you make them better, they're going to play more cohesive. That's why I believe in Jeff Sims, Jahmyr Gibbs, and some of these other guys. And I go back to what I said last week, guys. The offensive line will be better. Why? Because there is more talented players behind the current starting group. They're just not experienced enough to get game time. They're not experienced enough to get game time. Craig, we got to get the O-line that can let some of these weapons show out. Craig, I believe the pieces are there. The 2 big ones for me, or the one big one for is Ja'Kiah Leftwich. Jordan Williams still obviously in the fold with that. Going to Randall, I agree. Randall, I'm just going to say that you agree with everything on that because I don't remember what we were talking about when you said I agree. Let's go to Scott's question. This question is off the path a little bit. Do you guys think renovating Bobby Dodd Stadium, becoming more modern, would help recruiting a little more like we did with the locker room? Ralph and I are good friends with former Georgia Tech quarterback Taquan Marshall when they did those renovations, and he told us when he was there that was something that he saw an interest in recruiting because, listen, the kids love the flash. They love the glamour. They like to be walked around and seen all the big sights. But what is the biggest thing is obviously the atmosphere. So, Scott, I think Georgia Tech benefits from having a beautiful stadium in the heart of downtown Atlanta. A night game under the lights at Bobby Dodd is a fantastic view. You're in Atlanta, Georgia, which some people name the college football capital of the world because you have the College Football Museum and Hall of Fame right there. So it's very interesting. I think I like what you say, Scott. If they made some additions, I know it's small, but listen, the atmosphere has to be better. It has to be better. It has to be better in order to do that. So I think the atmosphere needs to be better before you start adding on and some things like that. Let's go to Randall's next comment. He agrees with Matt. Keep developing these young guys next year or year, and after will be really fun. Randall, I agree with you. That's why I don't like the quick hook that some fans have. You have to stick with these guys because if you don't, you keep resetting the process by putting in younger and younger kids, and very few young guys hit automatically. Going to Sean Taylor. Sean, I appreciate first time we've seen your comment in here. I saw you over on Twitter. You came over to YouTube. Appreciate that. Make sure, listen again, if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, hit notifications, share it with your friends, share it with your dog, share it with your family, because we want to make this an awesome show. Sean Taylor, it's time to play some of these young guys on the offensive line after the first 5. It's really bad. Sean, I really like Weston Franklin. I really like Jakiah Leftwich. I think we have to trust Brent Key in the fact of thing, maybe they're just not game ready. I believe, let's put this the best way, and this is no knock against any of the guys. I love some of the guys they have. They're good, hardworking players. I think the talent floor, okay, is higher for the current starting guys, but the ceiling for some of the younger guys is higher. They have the guys starting to have a very high floor, and the reason the younger guys do is because they don't have the experience. Listen, the jump, and Ralph, you correct me wrong on this, I feel like there's a couple positions, but offensive line is one of the hardest positions to make the jump from high school to college. Schematically, it can be sometimes, but the big thing might be just the size difference, the speed difference in that realm.
Just imagine going from playing high school football at a 1A private school and going to Mercer or going to UAB. And your first test as a freshman, you have to face Jordan Davis in Georgia.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not easy.
Yeah, that's Ralph, by the way, talking off screen. We appreciate him. But it is one of those things, guys. It's one of the things that you have to realize. I think the gap between that is so hard. Let's go next comment here. We appreciate the comments flowing in. Matt, talent can be gotten, but developing these kids will start doubling our wins. But as fans, we are tired of waiting. LOL, got to slow down expectations. And that goes back to what I said last week. What were the realistic expectations coming into the season? I think it was you had to develop. You could get a couple key wins, and you might be able to sneak out with a bowl game. I'm going to talk about that in the later half of the show, what I think could happen the rest of the year. Matt, well, I want to go back to David's comment real quick, and then we'll come back to Matt. Do we try to use Mercedes-Benz Stadium more? From what I understand, guys, the contract is that they will play a home game there every year. I think it's fantastic. I think it's a great recruiting tool. I know that was a big part of Zach Pyron committing. He was in the building for that game. You tell me a kid that doesn't want an opportunity to at least once a year play a game in an NFL stadium. That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. It's a great recruiting tool. It's fantastic. It's right there in the backyard like Geoff Collins talks about. I think it would be dense. I think it would be, bullheaded to not take advantage of your opportunities. Let's go back to Matt's right here. After the bye week, I'm willing to bet a lot of money that the kids playing this week will be made up of the younger guys rather than the same Paul Johnson players. This is an interesting comment that I've seen on a lot of message boards. How do you go with that? And I think that we have to understand that some of the holdovers from the Paul Johnson era are talented kids, very talented kids. But Matt Berry, college football analyst, I think he does like the college football scoreboard show, and I think you shared, Ralph, or liked that tweet I tweeted last night. Coaches have to be given at least 5 years to have a full recruiting cycle and have time to instill the culture. In this win-now world, the idea that Geoff Collins should be let go because there hasn't been immediate results, I get it, guys. You want to win now because you see what the guys in Athens are doing. You see what's happening in Tuscaloosa. You see what's happening all around you. Heck, the only team close to you that hasn't played well is Vanderbilt. I mean, truthfully, the only school that is not at least a bowl-eligible team around the city of Atlanta is probably them, and maybe Duke, but that's kind of getting really far away. You're pushing there. So, Matt, I would be interested to see if some younger guys get some time. That's very interesting right there. Let's go back to Randall. 6-6, possible bowl is realistic. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Matt Brook with a 5-year contract. Scott, there's no reason Georgia Tech can't recruit top 25 each year. I'm not saying top 10, but bet top 15, 25. I think since Kelman has not been rated, I think we're sitting 28th according to 27 Sports right now. Shanto, do we think we beat Virginia? So here we go, man. This is where we're going to go. And, man, y'all are rolling in the comments. I'll absolutely love it. We love it. I got to get Ralph to slow down the comments, man, because I'm going to get winded here. We only got 10, 15 more minutes of this show, so it's got to make it quick here. Sean Taylor, do we think we'll beat Virginia? I want to take a look, and I want to walk you guys through the rest of the schedule. Now, here's the positive. You went into the bye week with a win. That's huge to go into a bye week with a win. Ralph is not going to agree with what I have to say, and that's okay. The 3 most winnable games for me in this order are number 1 at Miami. I think Miami is a shell of a program right now. And looking at the rest of the schedule, I think that's safe to say. Virginia Tech. Now listen, Virginia can put up yards after yards after yards. It's going to be an interesting test on the road. Virginia Tech, a very talented team, but you get them at home. If you hope the environment's right, they can get a win there. Boston College at home, that's going to be a tough one. Notre Dame on the road, and Georgia. Listen, guys, I've said it before. Let's calm down on Georgia talk here. But I want to propose this, and so I want to say this right here. Do you think we could beat Virginia? I think you can. I think all the tools are there. But what happens when you play against North Carolina? These guys have seen what we can do when we play our best. Okay, and then the problem with a young team is the inconsistencies that we see of a young squad that come out flat against Pitt, and Pitt takes advantage because Pitt is an experienced team that's been there, done that. Until Georgia Tech, and this is something that's huge. Until Georgia Tech, and we'll take that comment down real quick, and we'll get to some more here in a second. Until Georgia Tech establishes a winning culture, it's very hard to learn how to deal with success. If you never win, how do you learn how to deal with success? Georgia Tech's trying to learn how to deal with failure right now. But they look a lot like the June or July Braves when they win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. For the psyche of a young team, that's hard. They've got once they learn that, and you can only learn that by more game experience, more opportunities in front of you. They've got that. Let's go to Randall. We beat Virginia if we can pressure their quarterback and not stall on offense. They can score, but their defense is not good. Randall, you hit the nail on the head in a preview right here. I love it, Randall. Appreciate that. Brownie points for Randall for that. You can beat Virginia. You got to get pressure on the quarterback like we did against North Carolina. You cannot go 3 and out every single time. If you go 3 and out and the offensive line's not working, they will rack up points on you, because if you beat yourself, and I think Georgia Tech has a tendency to beat themselves offensively. Virginia's not a very good defensive team. You can take advantage of some things. Scott Robinson with his comment right here. There's no way you get rid of Collins year 3. He deserves 5-6 years. Scott, head over to gtswarm.com. Go in the forums and find Fire Collins for him, and you please let the people know that. I have read it. I don't understand it. It is mind-blowing, in my opinion, why he would be someone that, I don't know. I do not know, guys. Let's roll with a question. We're going to come back to Sean's, and we're going to go to David's down here, who was talking to Sean. If we want to go bowling, we must beat Virginia Tech. David, that's huge, very huge, because this is it, guys. If you beat Virginia and Virginia Tech, you're on a 3-game win streak. If you beat Miami, you're on a 4-game win streak. The last time Georgia Tech had a 4-game win streak, Ralph, you ready for this? To end the 2016 season. The guys this is what I'm telling you guys. The guys on the current roster, unless you're a 5th-year senior, if my math is correct, but he wasn't there. Remember, he was at Florida.
But, he technically was, okay.
But he wasn't in the program, I'm saying. Unless you were a 5th-year senior who spent every single year at Georgia Tech, you don't know what it's like to win consistently. You've never experienced it. And so you're asking kids who don't know what it's like to do that. And it's such a hard thing to learn, especially, I know the ACC is not the most competitive, but it's still the highest level of college football. It's a hard thing to learn at this level. And they're trying to do that. That's why I think the patience has to stay with them. Matt Brooker, once again, we can stop the run, in my opinion, with the pass. We're suspect. All they do is pass. They throw the ball everywhere. That's why it's imperative to go back to Randall's comment. You have to pressure the quarterback. We've got to see some of these guys get pressure. We've got to see them make some plays. If they don't, they're going to sit back there and they're going to pick us apart all day long. Sean, I'm going to get your comment about Joseph Charleston here in a second, because I think it's very interesting to see. But let's go back to Craig's comment over on YouTube. Miami is about done for the year, he thinks. Yeah, Miami is, Manny Diaz, there's going to be serious conversations about him and whether he can do that, whether he can continue there. Miami's a shambles right now. I think that's a good one. Matt Brook, once again, to hell with Georgia. We like it right there. At Tech, Collins has never won 2 in a row. And guys, that's huge, huge. And Scott, once again, you're reiterating, Virginia has big receivers. We have to get a pass rush. So what have we learned, guys? And Sean, I'm going to get to your comment here in a second because we're going to finish off with that. This team has never won consistently. The guys there have never won consistently. So the process of dealing with the success has never been implemented. So really and truthfully, they won the Florida State game last year, but okay, fans weren't there. I don't really count that year. You beat North Carolina, primetime television. What was it, 8 o'clock, Mercedes-Benz. You are the game to watch at that night, at that time slot. Like, that's the game to watch. You win the game, you come out flat-footed against Pitt, and they take advantage. That's what good teams do. They keep the foot on the pedal. They keep the foot on the gas pedal. Georgia Tech has to learn how to do that, and I think they will. I think they have the right staff to do it, but it is so hard to do that, guys. When you have to understand, these guys have not won consistently. So you're asking them to do something that they've never done before. They've never experienced it, and the only way is to take your bumps and bruises, and they're going to do that. And I think this year is a great year for development. They've had a big win. The win on the road against Duke was big because you haven't won there since 2013. That's progress forward. Whether I don't think Georgia Tech is not a team that can just walk in right now and beat anybody. It's just not how it's constructed right now. It's great. Scott, right here. This team has to learn consistent play each and every week. That's what your great programs do. Scott, I love you guys here in the chat because you got common sense. This is a common sense show. The thing that separates the good, the great, and the elite teams is being able to do that week in, week out, regardless of opponent, regardless if it's Northern Illinois or North Carolina, regardless if it's Kennesaw State or Clemson. You go in with the same mentality. This program has a lot to go. I think they're going to have success. I think they've got the right staff in there for the job, and I think they're going to do some very interesting. I'm going to read this last comment, and then what we're going to do is we're going to field a couple quick questions here in the last couple minutes because, hey, the Braves are on. I know you guys want to watch. It's going to be very, very interesting. Randall Sanders says 10. Ralph, do you know what he means by that? I don't know. Craig, I'll go with this. I think it was a nice win at Duke when we played kind of ugly. Got to learn how to do that. Listen, great teams are not afraid to win ugly. They're not afraid to win ugly. You win any way you can. Let's go back up to Sean Taylor's comment because there was some news, some rumblings about the junior from Milton High School, played with Jordan Yates, transferring out of Clemson, the safety Joseph Charleston. And a lot of people felt like this could be a potential fit for Georgia Tech. Obviously, Tariq Carpenter could be leaving, and some of these other guys would be leaving. How do you fit in? I think the defensive backfield has talent, but you can never have enough depth. I want to read you kind of a scouting report on kind of what Charleston is. I think that he is has physical upside. I think he is right now. He's kind of a rotational player at Clemson, but he is a third-year junior, and this year was when the light was supposed to come on. He played 30 and 25 snaps in the first 2 games of the season, 30 against Georgia, but he hasn't seen the field a lot, so he decides to come out and transfer. Now, Charleston would be an interesting fit for this system. I think that he could do a lot of things. I'll be honest with you right now. We don't know a whole lot of what he is, of kind of what the decision-making is. And I think that anytime a kid is from the Atlanta area, you have to guarantee that Collins and them are talking to them. I guarantee you that Jordan Yates is in his ear a little bit about, hey, come play for the hometown team. Let's make this team great. Jordan Yates is that kind of guy. So I think, Sean, it could be something. We're going to monitor that in the next couple of weeks because I guarantee you he won't be there for long. I like how the guys in the comments are talking about the Braves game, and it's fun. Scott, I want to address this because this is kind of one of the last talking points. And Sean, yes, exactly. 10 outs. Okay. That's what he's saying. And here we go. We're going to finish up real quick here. Throw your questions in the chat real quickly, and we're going to start with Scott right here. Coach Dave Patno has to go, though. His play calling is atrocious. Listen, I think that these guys could be utilized a little bit better. I would love to know what goes on inside the meetings, and I think that it's going to be very interesting that Dylan Devaney is out with injury. That's going to be something to keep an eye on for the whole season. Where do we go from there? Jack Coco's obviously an option. Dylan Leonard's been banged up. Postma is a freshman. What could he see? That's going to be something interesting to monitor going forward. But we have – I know I understand the frustration with the play calling, but I believe that the offensive line hinders this team. They handcuff and handicap what Patno and this offense want to do because they just straight up are getting beat. Straight up getting beat. Now, Scott, that's not to go against. I think I'm with you. Some of the play calling is a little bit. I'm thinking, what's happening, but you have to understand the offense. To me, it starts and ends with the offensive line. You can talk about Kyrat McGowan, all these studs that they have on the outside. Jeff Sims is going to continue to get better. If you don't think Jeff Sims, I've seen some stuff about Jeff Sims and whatever, dude. He's a talented kid. He found a way to win. But going to Craig's right there. Exactly. It all comes down to the O-line. That is huge. We're going to end it off right here with Matt Brooks. Hot take. We beat Virginia. It lights a fire. We finished 6-6. Bowling, have a good night. See you later. I've got one that's going to top you. I think Georgia Tech gets to 7 wins. That's my hot take. You ready for this? I think that they win the next 3. They lose to Boston College. And they beat Notre Dame. And I'm going to tell you why. You ready for the hot take? Because Boston College knows their identity and plays better with their identity than Notre Dame does. Notre Dame doesn't have all that of an impressive win yet. They've got some okay wins. But, and tell me this too, real quick. If Georgia Tech wins 3 in a row coming out of this bye week, okay, and you're probably saying, what is this guy talking about? But that's like off-the-wall prediction, okay? I'm going crazy. If Georgia Tech wins 3 in a row, coming out of the bye week, what does that tell me? You're on a 4-game win streak for the first time since 2016, and you are also clicking coming out of the bye week. Anything can happen. Ralph, how right am I? You go into the bye week with a win, you come out, you get 3 straight. That means some changes have happened. You bring them into the locker room? What is to say that the team that I don't feel like has and I'm saying that the 2 teams with the best identities left on the schedule, and we're going to wrap it up here in a second, is Boston College. They know what they want to do. They do it well. And Georgia. Notre Dame's identity. It could be an issue. Now, I don't know what they're going to look like come that game. That's going to be the 11th game of the season. But, man, that would be very, very interesting. Listen, we would be honored. I'm trying to get Ralph there, folks. He's never been. We're trying to get to clean old-fashioned. Hey, we may have to set up a tailgate and talk a little bit. I know. Hey, Ralph says he can't. But we're going to see if we can get there. Ralph, they're going to feed us. They're going to feed us. What game are you going to be at? Ralph is going to go to Auburn, Alabama. That's what he's going to be. I understand. I get it. But listen, let's go. Craig, we get 7. Call next year. Love it, Bryce. I love you, Randall Sanders. 7-5, big improvement. Listen, who cares? It could happen. If you come out and win 3 straight, man, you got the confidence. I'm just, I'm not blowing sunshine here. I'm not a sunshiner all the time. I'm just saying, if they come out, now listen, they could very well lose. Be very interesting. Sean Taylor. Okay. All right. No, we're not. It's a joke, Sean. It's a joke. Scott right there. Our fans have to stop making excuses. Show up. Our fan base used to be pretty good. Listen, you got to show up. If you want to show up and show out, the fans have to show up. You got to create the atmosphere that helps in recruiting. It helps with the team's psyche. You have to be there. You cannot buy in just when the team's winning. That's called a bandwagon fan. Don't be an Alabama fan. It's been a ton of fun. I appreciate it. Let's go Braves. Bring out the pearls. Ralph, how many outs are we away now? 9 outs. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Having a fun, fantastic time. The last part of it, Section 103. Guys, please go get the gear. It's fantastic gear. 10% off. Use code Crowded Booth. We're excited. We're having a ton of fun. Sean Taylor says 8-4. Why not? Let's roll. We're going to see you next week, guys. I can't wait to see you guys again. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to share this, like it, subscribe, hit the notifications. We're going to be talking Georgia Tech basketball here very, very soon because they came out 10th in the preseason ACC standings. I don't agree with it. I'm going to let you know why next week. See you guys. It's been a ton of fun.